We begin with that historic settlement in the Dominion voting system's defamation lawsuit against Fox News.
The two sides agreed to a $787.5 million settlement just hours after the jury was seated for the high-profile trial. Dominion originally sought $1.6 billion, saying the network defamed the company for pushing conspiracy theories about the 2020 presidential election. Following the news, Fox released a statement saying, "We are pleased to have reached a settlement of our dispute with Dominion Voting Systems. We acknowledge the court's rulings findings, certain claims about Dominion to be false. This settlement reflects Fox's continued commitment to the highest journalistic standards." Dominion CEO John Polis also addressed reporters after this agreement was reached.
Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion that caused enormous damage to my company, our employees, and the customers that we serve. Nothing can ever make up for that.
Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Emilie Ikeda in Wilmington, Delaware, for all the latest on this. We're also joined by NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Good morning to both of you. Emilie, how did both sides come to this agreement, and what is each side saying about it?
Well, I'll tell you this. A lot has transpired since I last talked to you yesterday morning. The jury selection played out. That process played out yesterday morning. The jury was seated, 12 jurors, 12 alternates, and then everyone broke for lunch. Then we were supposed to return to the courtroom for the start of the trial. Opening statements set to get underway around 1:30 p.m. So everyone filed back into the courtroom, back into the media overflow room for opening statements that were delayed by, at first, it was a few minutes. We didn't think anything of it. Those minutes turned into hours, fueling speculation around what could have caused such a prolonged delay. Well, we got our answer shortly before 4 p.m. The judge and the jury re-entered the courtroom, and it was a brief announcement. The judge told everyone that the parties had settled and resolved the case. He thanked the lawyers, he thanked the jurors, and everyone exited. An abrupt end to what would have been a high-stakes trial that could have gone for 5 to 6 weeks, bringing names like and high-profile figures like Rupert Murdoch, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson to the stand. Now that is no longer the case. Fox's legal team bypassed the media, released that statement you read earlier, and Dominion's team taking to the courthouse steps right behind me, really breaking down what the huge figure, the nearly $800 million settlement stands for. Take a listen here.
For us, this case has always been about exposing the truth and holding those who knowingly spread lies accountable.
Over 2 years ago, a torrent of lies swept Dominion and election officials across America into an alternative universe of conspiracy theories.
Now, should Dominion have continued into trial, they would have had to prove that Fox acted with something called actual malice, that Fox knowingly aired false claims about election fraud allegations, or at least acted with reckless disregard. Guys?
So, Danny, I want to bring you in here because notably they settled at only half, less than half of what they initially sued for, $1.6 billion. So what's the advantage of Fox settling before opening arguments even begin?
The major advantage is the same advantage had they settled months and months and months ago, which is they don't put critical people in the Fox chain of command on the stand and let the bloodletting continue. Look, I think Fox made a bit of a mistake here. They adhered to an old school mentality for defendants in civil cases, which is, and the insurance companies drive this thinking too, which is wait until the absolute last minute to settle. That's magical thinking. Maybe something will happen, but more importantly, you hold on to your money as long as you can. The insurance company can invest it, earn interest on it, whatever the case may be. But the other incentive is that they don't want to encourage other would-be plaintiffs to sue to get the idea that, oh, this is a defendant that rushes to settle a case as soon as it's filed. It's an old way of thinking. It may work with run-of-the-mill motor vehicle accident claims or things that nobody ever hears about in the news. That's not this case. The stakes were too high. It would have been valuable to Fox to settle this even for the same amount early on, before all these depositions were taken and before all these facts were out in the public.
Fascinating. Emilie, where does each side go from here?
Well, I'll tell you, it appears that there are more legal matters on the horizon for both sides here. Fox still facing a similar defamation lawsuit from another voting technology company called Smartmatic. This one with demanding even more money than Dominion did, $2.7 billion. Fox has denied the allegations and called the demanded damages absolutely outrageous. For Dominion, it has more pending lawsuits on the horizon. It is suing several individuals, including Trump allies, also several news outlets. So in other words, guys, more to follow, more to come.
And Danny, I want to ask you about something a little more in the weeds, because a source familiar with the situation tells NBC News that the special master's investigation into whether or not Fox News complied with their discovery obligations will not move forward. Is this because of the settlement?
Yeah, nobody cares anymore. 48 hours ago, the plaintiff's attorneys would have felt very strongly about getting to the bottom of what kinds of discovery games Fox was playing. Now, they don't have that incentive. They've won a gigantic settlement, the incentive to go forward and find out whether Fox hid discovery. The plaintiffs don't care. If the plaintiffs don't care that much, then probably the special master and the judge aren't as interested in either. And of course, Fox is certainly not interested in anyone investigating it further to find out whether it did or did not play hide discovery.
What are the greater implications here for the media world? I mean, before this settlement, Fox had said Dominion was looking for a financial windfall, and the real victim here would be the First Amendment. So do you think other media companies have been watching this or are actually kind of glad that Fox settled and this didn't go through the trial, potentially changing something?
Yes, because when a case settles like this, it doesn't really have any preclusive value. In other words, it's not precedent in the way it might be if there was a verdict and then that verdict was upheld on appeal, and then you have an appellate court issuing an opinion on an issue of law saying, hey, in defamation cases, this is the rule. Or, for example, the New York Times v. Sullivan standard is still the rule. A lot of folks wondered if the Times v. Sullivan standard, and that's the one that says that you can hold a media company liable, for example, if there's a false statement and they were reckless about its falsity. That's been the standard for many decades. A lot of folks have criticized that standard. We'll never know, at least as a result of this litigation, whether that standard could have been tested or the extent to it. It remains. It lives to fight another day, if that's what it does. And we've really created no precedential value, really just spiritual value for all those other would-be plaintiffs who are interested in suing Fox.
Spiritual value. All right, Danny Cevallos and Emilie Ikeda, thank you both.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.